are you doing?
I'm pruning it.
Doing a video. With great help today. We are cleaning the titanium exhaust
Daddy, look.
from the Corvette.
Daddy,
Yep.
look.
Great work, son. Great work. Just getting a basic cleaning done on it, and we are going to paint the tips here in a minute. So, just doing a basic cleaning with some Zep degreaser, just like that. Some sandpaper on the tips, some steel wool on the mufflers, just to get the grime off. Still not perfectly clean, but they're not going to get clean and stay clean. So
I'm all done.
awesome, thank you. Finish spraying these off. Over. And if you'll notice something different about these mufflers, we've had the bypass done on them. So the titanium piece has been welded in between there, and they will sound a little bit different than before once I get them back on the car. So now we are all clean, and we're going to paint the tips. Let these dry a little bit. Paint them up. Welcome to the paint booth. That's not a paint booth. Let's flip this around. There's the other one. Here's the one getting painted. Got my AC on fan, and I've got my garage doors open a little bit here. So that's one coat, the white. The paint I'm using is Rust-Oleum High Heat 2000. It is a flat black paint. And on top of the flat black paint, I'm going to use flame proof satin clear. I'm going to do probably 5 to 6 coats of this stuff and probably 4 coats of clear. I've heard the less you do, the more likely it is to chip. Also want thin coats. So there's my first coat, super thin. So that's put the second coat on now. It says to wait a few minutes between coats. It's been about 3 or 4 minutes, so that was pretty light. I'll hit it again. Second coat done. Take a look at it. 2 coats. Pretty flat. Laying it on thin. Maybe get under there a little bit. Work a little harder for that. So far so good. So I'm talking through my mask here. Hope you can hear me. So this is about, gosh, I lost count, 7 or 8 base coats. I did several just to make sure I got it really well covered. This is 4 coats of clear. Still wet, just shot the last coat, so it won't be this shiny because it's still pretty wet. But the satin sheen on that looks really nice. I think eventually it'll sort of fade, and then I'll know how well it's going to last as far as, you know, the shine. But I'm hoping it actually dulls a little bit just because I don't want it to match the bumper exactly, because right now when it's wet it looks like the bumper. But it took the paint really well, at least it seemed to. No runs, no problems. So turned out really nice. I'm liking the color. So we'll go ahead and do the other one here in a minute, and I'll show you what it looks like at the end of the base coat. I was in a hurry earlier and didn't get that, but got them all etched up with the 220 grit. Hopefully that'll work. Didn't bother really shining these up. I just figured they'd be kind of hidden under the car. I tried to kind of clean up the front of the muffler, so you might see that. But anyway, looking pretty good. And we're moving on to muffler number 2, which would be the passenger side. So using a high heat flat black. It's a nice easy coat. A little heavy right there, but it's on the back, so it's okay. I took a break for a little bit. It's like 11:15 at night. Had some stuff come up tonight. Had to step away from this, but man, color consistency was a giant pain in the butt. Finally got them about the same. Note to self, note to anybody doing this, shoot them at the same time. Do all your base and all your clear together. I made the mistake of trying to do one pipe, muffler, whatever within the other. Bad idea. So this stuff, I guess maybe there's some slight color variation between cans, because this was the first can I used, and I used about not quite half on the first tips. Used that can and cleared it the same method. And I don't know if I used more clear or what. I didn't really count. I just figured it was going to be consistent regardless. But I had one pipe that was darker than the other as far as the tips. So if you look at this one, it has a nice shine to it. I guess they both come up about the same. Hopefully they look the same. But this side was actually darker. And so I tried sanding it with 600 and shooting more paint on it, and it was still dark. I don't really know what was going on, so I switched my cans and I reapplied clear. I guess I did 2 base coats and then just 2 coats of clear, because that one, the first set, looked darker than I wanted, which was this one initially. So I used less clear on this one that I'm showing you here, and the color I wanted is perfect. It has a slight grayness to it, slight matte to it. I painted the rear bumper satin black, which I'll show in a little bit, and I didn't want it to look exactly like that, and it did. So that was a bummer. So I stripped it off, sort of, did some sanding, and did 2 coats of clear, and it still looked too dark. So I thought, you know, to heck with this. I'm out here. It's been freaking all day almost, seems like, doing this thing, which it hasn't, but I've stepped away a couple times. Anyway, so I thought, heck with it, I'm just going to shoot some base on it. So I put, I had the clear on it, which was this stuff, wherever it's hiding. I had the clear right here, and I thought, you know, I'm just going to shoot on top of it. Hopefully it'll hold. I think it'll be fine. I think everything's going to kind of melt together as it cures when it gets some heat through it. So I just threw some high heat coat back on it. The original can, I did 3 more coats, and it looks like we match. So that has clear, that doesn't have clear. It's so close. I mean, I don't think you're gonna be able to tell the difference. It's not as satiny as what's on the car. It's a little bit lighter. I just wanted a little bit of contrast in the tips and the rear bumper. So long story about those. I had the loud boys on there for a little bit, and they droned way too much on the highway. I liked those back when I was like mid-20s on my first Corvette. Not so much anymore. I'm an old man, so I really wanted to like those. I love how they sound everywhere except for on the highway, which, you know, if you can't cruise 6th gear, then you're turning like, you know, 22, 2300, 2500, whatever it is RPM at 70, which is kind of annoying too because it just gets louder. So anyway, these guys are going back on. They're all cleaned up. I'm gonna go tomorrow, drop the car off. I'm just gonna take it with no mufflers. It'll be noisy on the way there, but it's up and ready to go. And I'll go ahead and show you what this turned out like. It's kind of late. Hopefully nobody's out. You hear me talking to myself out here, but I'll have to be quiet about it. Let's go ahead and raise this up. My openers are pretty quiet, so hopefully it won't bother anybody inside. everybody's out here. So I painted this satin black. It's satin black Krylon. Prepped it, 600 grit, wet sand, taped it all up. Turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it overall. No big problems, went on real good. Just kept it base instead of putting clear on it, just because I didn't want to have to touch up clear as well. So same's true for this exhaust. If this stuff fades or doesn't hold, I'm not going to mess with clear again. I mean, the clear gave it a little more depth. It made it a little bit darker in color, but I think that you know, this I think will look pretty good. Over time they might lighten a little bit, and that'd be okay. I just didn't want them to look like gray and look like cheap. The satin clear give it a little bit of depth, and I'm not sure on this guy that's got satin clear underneath it, but yeah, it's kind of weird. I'm hoping that it's the same color. It's deceiving. It's kind of wherever you look at it in the light, but like I said, I think on the car it should look pretty good. I'm just tired of polishing tips. I mentioned that in another video early on, that you know, you can clean up the tips. I don't want to do that all the time. Titanium turns funky yellow, which you can see back here, and the tips tend to do the same thing, especially with soot, gasoline, you know, coming through it, running rich, which it does now with camshaft. So anyway, yeah, so that's going to get put on tomorrow, and I will jump to tomorrow right now. That is the stock titanium catback with the bypass mod done. The right tip needs adjusted up a little bit, but it sounds pretty good. Looks pretty good. Can hardly hear it in the car. It's pretty docile in the car. Just got through washing it and cleaning it up. Really happy with how that tail panel turned out. Tips are about the color I wanted. They were kind of a hassle, but definitely worth it. now. I'm just going to drive it easy. So the exhaust is picked up in the back. It should be about 25 degrees. Just easy driving. Not a lot of drone in here at all. This is 1600 RPM. I was just wrapping up that video and I realized I didn't do an outro for it. So I just want to kind of sum it up. I hope you guys enjoyed the clip of me driving the car around. I tried to do, basically it was like a 20-30 minute drive, and I cut it down to the best parts of it. Not a lot of cruising, but hopefully you get the idea. The exhaust is pretty much drone free. You might hear a little bit around like 2,500, just a little bit of noise. I think that's just the factory engine, and where, where the, basically it's inherent noise from the LS motors around 2,500, 2,500 maybe. I can't remember exactly, but like I said, I'm not remembering it, so it's not that bad. I love how it sounds. I would compare it to like a Corsa Sport, like the older style. Not quite the Indy. It's not as loud as that. The old Indy catback is similar to this. The Indy, I think, is a little more raspy, but this one is pretty comparable to that. So if you're looking for something that sounds similar to Corsa, has a unique sound, sounds like the Titanium stock exhaust, obviously, because that's ultimately what it is, just with a little more guts behind it, especially with a camshaft. I've got more compression in mine. Sounds pretty healthy. I'm really happy with it. So the modification itself was really inexpensive. If I remember correctly, it's been a little bit since I had it done. I'm a little behind on getting this video out. But I want to say, I think it cost me like $180. That was the labor and the material. Luckily, the guy that did it for me had done this before with, as far as worked with titanium. He hadn't actually done the mod. I showed him some pictures, told him what I wanted to do. And I sent a video to him after, the little clip I had of the before and after, and he was pretty impressed with how much it changed the sound. So it definitely makes it, gives it more of a unique sound. And I highly recommend this to anybody looking for basically a stock sound, titanium sound at cruise that has more of an aggressive aftermarket sound in the throttle. To me, it's almost the best of both worlds. It's like a dual mode exhaust. You basically control the volume with your foot. It's not going to be really quiet at idle outside the car, especially if you have a camshaft. But I think, if you still had cats on your car, if you had factory manifolds in front of it, it's not going to make that much of a difference. I think a lot of the sound comes from the cam in my situation, and it comes with no cats in the long tubes, is really where the sound, I think, is coming from overall, and the main increase over factory. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you did. I haven't seen content about this specifically in and out of the car. I try to do as much as I could. I tried a reverse camera on my trunk. It didn't quite work out. It kind of just, the video quality wasn't very good. Sound was just really a lot of wind noise. So hopefully you got something out of it. Hopefully you can kind of make out what this sounds like. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So like and subscribe. There'll be a lot more content on this car coming up. Just got a lot of stuff going for it right now, and there'll be more soon. Thanks. Have a good one.